Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and I'm still having a great time with these lovely seasonal allergies, but gotta make the vids anyway, and especially this one, it's really important. This is MTG Mistakes, Part 20, that's right, we made it to number 20. Now this mistake is kind of subtle, I mean a lot of people do it, and then they don't realize that they did it after the fact. So how are you going to correct it if you didn't know that you did it wrong? But you really do need to stop doing this because it can take like a 95% chance of winning, like just absolute cakewalk, you're definitely dominating the game, your opponent's just top decking, you're going to win, and flipping it to be a loss. I mean, it's that drastic. So if you've ever totally had the game in the bag and then you're thinking, oh boy, I've got this, and then, oh, they do something to turn it around, you might not realize what you did. Now this is really complicated, but to explain it simply, I say you need to stop doing the ideal choice when it comes to making choices, or playing cards, or when to play a card, or if you play a card, or how many creatures to swing with, the usual decisions that you make in a match. You go from generally good and generally optimum to actually finishing the game optimum. For example, it's generally the optimal thing to do the maximum amount of damage. So if you can do 12 damage but you choose to do 8 for some reason, like, what are you doing? You want to do as much damage as possible, normally, all things being equal. So the main specific example of people screwing this up is when they fail to plan how they can ideally kill their opponent in approximately one more turn cycle. So if it's your turn, and you're thinking, what should I do? Okay, they're at 8 life, I've got 3 creatures on the field, they have 0. I'm going to win. I mean, pretty much within reason I'm going to win. I have to think, okay, what's their life total? What's my total attack power? What's the possibility of, what they could pull on their one and only draw? And then if that's the most advantageous card they could possibly pull, what would be the result of that? Would it be like a flash-in creature that's like a 4/4, like a 1/1 Death Toucher, so I'm for sure losing an attacker? Like, what would be the worst thing that could come out of their deck from what I've seen so far? And considering it's nearing the end of the game, you've probably figured out what their deck does and most of the cards in it. So if the best they have is a kill spell, okay, you might lose 1 creature, so then, yeah, swing all out, why not? But if you think they might have like Aether Spouts, which is return all attacking creatures to either the top or bottom of your opponent's library, their choice, that'd be really bad if I swung with my whole line needlessly. And I say needlessly because let's say you have 5 creatures that are 2/2s. They're just plain old 2/2s. You got some zombies out or something. And let's say they're at 12 life. So you can't kill them this turn. You don't have any boosts. You don't have any haste creatures. The max you can swing for is 10. So you'd think, okay, I should probably swing for 10 because I need to get them, I need to hit them as hard as possible at all times. That's the optimal way to play Magic, is to do the maximum amount of damage every possible time. But that's not true. If you think about it, it's not true. Your goal is to win the game on your next turn. That is your current goal because that's what it looks like will happen. I mean, your goal is always to win the game, but now that they got nothing on the field, and 1 or 2 cards in hand or 0, I mean, you pretty much got the game in the bag. Now your goal is to win as soon as possible. That is limited by the fact that you can't win this turn, so you can only win next turn. So accepting the fact that you can't win until next turn, what is the safest way to make that happen, to make yourself win on the next turn? And that would be to swing with 3 of the creatures and leave 2 there in case of who knows what. And a lot of people would say, why? Why would you possibly do that? That doesn't make sense. Well, you're still going to kill them in 2 turns. If they summon a creature, you're still going to kill them in 2 turns. If they use 1 removal spell, you're still going to kill them in 2 turns. If they use Aether Spouts, holy crap, you could legitimately lose the game because of that if you swung with your entire line, which you don't need to do. It's not the safest way to win the game, and you're going to win the game regardless, as far as you know, so you might as well, stop considering what is generally good in Magic, which is high hits, lots of damage, yay, and consider what you specifically need to do to finish the game, which is of course the topic of this video. So hopefully that made sense. Now here's the whole reason behind this switch in your brain. On turn 1, 2, or 3, you have no idea what's going on. You can't plan out the next 7, turns or whatever because you have no idea what's going to happen. So you can't say, oh, I'm going to swing for 3, then I'm probably going to summon a creature, swing for 5, then swing for 5, then swing for only 2 because they're going to blow up one of my creatures and that equals 20. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. You can't plan that far ahead. That's just stupid. I mean, if you've got 5 cards in hand, they got 5 cards in hand, and it's turn 2 or 3 or whatever, anything could happen. There's no thinking, oh, what is every possible scenario that could happen? But nearing the end of the game, whether you're winning or losing, but usually when you're winning is when you don't want to blow it. That's when you know the board state. Let's say they have 0 cards in hand. You know exactly how much mana they have. You know exactly what type of creatures they have out on the field. So you should be able to calculate exactly what you need to do to win, but then also with minimal risk. So a lot of people in that past example, they're at 12 life, you've got 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, so you got 10 attack power and 5 creatures. A lot of people would say swing for 10 because you never know. But I say swing with, 3 of them for 6 damage because you never know. Now both of those sound correct, they both sound logical, because I could see people saying, well, if you hit them for 10, and then something weird happens. They wipe the board or something, or they blow up all attackers, or I don't know. Or all attackers don't untap during their next untap or something. It's just something that would prevent you from winning on time. Well, then at least you got them to 2 life. Like, it's a darn good thing that you got them down to 2 life, because now your creatures are gone, or they're disabled for an extra turn, or whatever. But of course, my logic is, why not swing with just 3 of them, deal 6 damage, get them down to 6 life, and then swing with 4 out of the 5 creatures on the next turn? Because then no matter what they do, if they flash something in, if they have a kill spell, doesn't matter, you've still got a blocker. Like, let's say if you were really at a low life total, what if they pulled a haste creature? You just swung all out, did 10 damage, you still didn't kill them, so it's technically the same result, except now you don't have any blockers. That's really bad if they have a haste creature. If they have a board wipe, okay, it doesn't matter, but if they have, something that only affects attacking creatures, that's bad. I mean, there's Riot Control, Dramatic Rescue, you name it. I mean, there's a lot of cards that can stop attackers in their tracks. So if you compare, swinging for 10 and then not winning, or swinging with 3 creatures for 6 and not winning, and then in both cases winning on the next turn regardless, I mean, the other one's safer. Leaving some guys on defense is just safer. So I would generally do it, in general, unless I knew what type of deck they were running and most of the cards in it, and then I had a reason not to. Like, if they could top deck an instant that said gain 4 life, I just cost myself another entire turn because of that. So if I'm absolutely certain that they don't have any combat tricks to screw with attackers, I would swing all out. I would swing for 10, absolutely. But if I didn't know most of their deck and they were holding a bunch of cards, I would say, I'm going to go cautious. I'm just going to swing for 6, and then I'm going to swing for 6, maybe 8, just to be safe. Because every single time during the late game that you hand them an extra turn, they could pull a card that would flip the whole game around. Now, even if you do slip up while being more cautious, you still are at a huge advantage. Remember, you were going to win the game. You've got the best board, you got the best creatures, so now they did something to, leave themselves with 1 life point. They flashed in a 2/1 lifelinker. Well, they blocked with it and now it's dead. Great. At least you've still got 4 creatures that you could swing with. Well, now they're back to top decking, and it's just going to take 1 extra turn to kill them. So, whatever. At least you didn't lose your entire line of attackers. Now, the other big one that I see, now there's 100 different examples, and they are very vastly different than each other, so I wish I could go into them all. But another super common one I see all the time is you're about to win the game because you just swung, all your creatures got through, or they chump blocked 2 and then 1 got through, and now they're at 4 life. So you got this big army of 3 giant creatures. They were forced to chump block or lose the game, so theoretically you're going to win on the next swing. As far as you know, with the current board state, you're going to win on the next swing. Now, even if they bring out 1 more chump blocker, okay, so you destroy it, they just, they top deck a chump blocker, throw it out, block with it 1 more time, that's fine, you'll just win the next turn, as long as they don't pull a card that just completely reverses the whole game. But if they're going to do it, they're going to do it, and you can't kill them this turn, so you gotta play cautious. So just in case they pull just an absolute wipe the board, just nuke the whole board, at the end of that turn that I was talking about, where you did some damage, your next turn you're gonna swing for lethal, and you've got a 3/1 creature in your hand. Leave it in your hand. See, it's generic Optimum strategy versus actual board state finishing strategy. And this is why near the end of the game you have to shift it that way. People are still stuck in, I need the most attackers on the field, I need the most this, the most that, the most damage. No, you don't. You just need to win the game. You need to do specifically what you need to do to win the game as soon as you can. With, of course, the lowest amount of risk. So if you already know you're going to swing for lethal, yes, it is more advantageous to go from 3 creatures on the field to 4. In general, it's better to have 4 creatures on the field in Magic, all things being equal. But specifically in that case, you're already going to win the game as far as you know, so leave it in your hand. And, if you can summon something, you've got full mana, and you're holding the card right there, why would you not put it on the field? People just can't get past that. Well, because you're going to win the game anyway, so why expose your last creature that you don't need? He's like your backup plan in case anything backfires. Your opponent has no idea if it's a boost card, if it's a creature, if it's an enchantment, if it's an exile spell, instant boost. He has no idea what it is. So that's huge because then more unknowns is good. The less information your opponent has about the board state, your hand, and your cards in your deck is, the better. So you should always in that case, leave it in your hand unless you have a really good reason not to. The exception to the rule is always, but they're playing this. So, I do want more on the field. Like they're playing like a strive targeted kill spell deck or something. So I want this one out because they have enough mana to potentially kill exactly 3 targets. So then this one won't have summoning sickness and I'll still be able to swing for lethal. Okay, under that circumstance, because that card's in their deck, bring it out. But without specific knowledge, as far as you know, you're already going to massively win the game. Like, even if they summon 1 blocker, you're still going to win the game. So within reason, you're going to win the game. Leave that card in your hand. Leave that little creature in your hand. And I have won games by doing this. They board wipe it, pass to me. I top deck something, who cares, doesn't matter. It's usually another creature, and then drop out both. And now they're like, oh, crap. Now, if that creature was caught in the board wipe, I might have gave them another turn, another 2 turns, another 3 turns. Maybe they pulled another kill spell, and then I just drew nothing but lands, and they got out a creature, counter swung, and they won the game because of it. So just remember, safety first. Near the end of the game, when you know a lot about the board state, you know a lot about their cards in hand, because usually it's none. You know how many mana they have on the field. You know basically everything, and you know you're going to win. Switch to specific mode. Don't keep operating in general mode. Now, there is one more funny situation. I'm not going to give a specific example because you guys have all seen this. You've all seen somebody do it. I do this all the time, unfortunately. You make a generally good decision, like, it would be more advantageous to do this, and cast this spell instead, because then I'll draw 3. Wow! And then you completely forget that you actually could have just cast a boost spell instead and won the game. Or you could have, in blue, you cast a draw spell because you're like, oh man, I just got a land, so I'm going to pay 6 to draw 3 cards, and then, oh my gosh, I'll have 3 cards, and then I'll definitely win the game. When, in reality, you could have bounced their only blocker back to hand and won the game on the swing. So yeah, normally, drawing 3 cards, as soon as you finally, you've been waiting all game to draw 3 cards, you've been waiting for that 6 mana to show up, and now you pulled 3 more cards, so not only do you have a creature advantage, you're probably going to win, but now you've got 3 cards, so you got some counter spells and some stuff. But, that's generally good. Specific to that situation, you could have won the damn game. And boy, have I seen people do that. Like I said, I do this all the time. I am famous for missing win conditions. Like, if I would have done this, I could have won this turn. And instead, I did something that's generally considered to be better, except really winning the game is better. So do not miss your win conditions. You will look like a complete idiot. And really, like I said, it just comes down to generic, general, good moves versus what do I need to do right now. So don't forget to switch your mindset to specific mode instead of generalization mode, I guess, especially near the end of the game. And I will see you guys next video.